Yes, Casanovians finally had a haircut. Finally got those sides taken off. Just an absolute life hack. Just get a medium skin fade. Just makes your face look a lot sharper. It's worked for me anyway. But yeah, it's been 4 years. 4 years on this day since I did my first ever direct cold approach. It's actually crazy. I remember vividly, I remember doing it. I had been, because this was during the whole pandemic as well. So I started in Leeds in 2020 during the pandemic. And it's like, if I was able to start then, like with the starting position that I actually had, the way that I looked, like looking like a turnip, dressing like a moron, just come out of a long-term relationship, didn't really know what I was doing. This was still a very new world to me. Living in that grotty apartment in central Leeds, infested by cockroaches. I didn't have a crazy amount going for me. But I always have huge respect for that 23-year-old version of me, despite everything that was working against me at that moment in time. I had optimism in the absence of certainty, which is one of my definitions for confidence. Optimism in the absence of certainty. I'd seen videos online, right? So I'd seen videos online. One of the first videos I saw of cold approach was somebody going around Barcelona talking to women, very organic, very natural, because I'd seen these sort of videos before, but the whole thing always felt very like sleazy and robotic. And I think we've probably all been in that position where you first come across this content, and I don't know, there's a part of you that which feels resistance against started because you don't want to be labeled as one of those weird like pickup guys who's parading around the pavements for 8 hours a day, accusing every woman that you see of like being French, and just having these like robotic, systematic, formulaic conversations. You know what I mean? But yeah, these videos that I saw online, everything just felt very natural, and I was like, well, realistically, what are my other options? Like, I'm not gonna go down the online dating route because time my looks just weren't up to scratch. So I knew that I wasn't gonna get any. Also, because it was a pandemic, those apps were saturated, like completely saturated. So, like where I was 4 years ago with no money, hadn't done the whole like looks maxing thing, didn't have a crazy amount of value. I couldn't really project my personality over a screen. So dating apps were done. Nightclubs, they were all closed. Like there was no nightclubs open. Like social circle game. Well, I didn't have any friends, so that was out. And I didn't want to be DMing women like a little simp. I didn't even know what a simp was back then. If I did, I probably was one. So I didn't. It was like burn the boats essentially, but the boats had kind of already been burnt for me. So yeah, I'd watched those videos online, and I was like, okay, I can see myself being able to do this because I had a decade of social experience. Like I was a magician for a decade, right? So I started performing magic at 13 years old because I used to have severe social anxiety. So I thought, okay, most people's biggest fear is public speaking. Try doing that whilst also performing a magic trick and captivating people and keeping people's attention. Like I used to do these street shows where I used to busk on the streets. I would like I tied like two skipping ropes together to like mark where I wanted people to stand, and I would used to go out into like city centers trying to like draw a crowd. I did that so many times, and like nobody showed up. Like nobody. Like talk about taking a sledgehammer to social anxieties, just like making myself look like an absolute knob in public. But that was like one of the most important things on my progression. It was that ego death. It's like the person that I am today at 27 years old. It's like this is like 27 years in the making. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, 4 years ago, I took the plunge. I was like, I don't want to be another one of those guys who just watches videos and does nothing with it. I just went outside. I remember doing it. It was the 4th of July, 2020. So it's like American Independence Day, which is actually kind of fitting. But that was the day, that was the day where I finally took that decision to dive bomb into discomfort, really investing into the identity of the person who I wanted to embody, because I already had this this future projection in my mind. Like I knew that if I could become proficient at this skill, then one day I could teach it, I could have my YouTube channel, I could build a private community, I could have an international lifestyle. When I first started making these videos, the feedback was always pretty colorful. It was like, you're ugly, you're a 4 out of 10 at best, you look physically disadvantaged, what are you wearing, why are you wasting these women's time? And it was all feedback, you know. It's all it is, you know. Whenever you receive like criticism from the universe, for me, it's all feedback, and it's all designed to serve me on my mission towards freedom from bullshit, masculine excellence, personal renaissance, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, 4 years ago, did that very first direct call approach. I remember it vividly. It was in the Merrion Centre in Leeds. It was this Persian girl. I saw her, and I was just like, right, this is the one. She was quite far ahead of me. I remember she was outside, but then she went into the shopping centre. I was like, oh shit, I've not learned how to do indoor approaches yet. So I was like, I can't bail now, because I knew from my magic days, like if you bail on an approach, like the first approach, like if I was performing in a restaurant and I saw a table of people that I wanted to approach, and if I bailed on that, the rest of the evening usually went shit, because I was operating from this place of fear. So I saw her, I was already like primed as well, because I've been watching these videos. I was like, right, today's the day, I'm gonna do it. So she went to the shopping center, I went inside, I said, excuse me. I didn't say excuse me loud enough. Like, she was still in front of me. Like, I didn't know how to stop a girl at this point, right? So I just shouted. I was like, excuse me. She didn't hear me the first time. So I got a bit closer, and I said, excuse me again. Loads of people in the shopping center started looking. Then she turned around. She had her headphones in as well. And she took her headphones out. She looked like a rabbit in headlights. She's thinking, who the fuck is this turnip looking kid, 23-year-old, coming towards me? And I was super nervous. I was super like anxiety induced. I was like speaking really fast. I just felt my heart going. And this is like, even with like a full decade of being a magician, it's like I didn't have any props to hide behind. And it's like, we all start off shit as well. You know what I mean? We all start off as beginners. Like I work with so many guys, like public speakers, like CEOs, guys who are like, you know, Billy Big Bollocks in their industry, but the streets are the ultimate equalizer. Do you know what I mean? Like the streets don't care who you've been in the past or who you are in your industry. Everyone starts off on the same playing field. It's the ultimate equalizer, which I always love about cold approach. It's like streets don't really care who you are, who you've been, who you think you are. It's who are you when you're in these conversations. So it's a really humbling experience, but had like a very like quick 20-second car crash conversation, and it was just like the whole, hi, you know, like, I saw you and I just wanted to say you look really good. And then she's like, oh, thanks, I've actually got a boyfriend. I was like, oh, you got a boyfriend, that's fine. I just wanted to, you know, come and say something anyway. But anyway, have a good day. Just really like classic Kristian from 2020. But that was the first one. And like that feeling, like when I set the intention, right? I set the intention the night before. I was absolutely bricking it, but I just knew that as soon as I did that very first direct approach, it was going to open the floodgates of possibility. And then as soon as I did that one, I ended up doing a couple more round leads, and they all went well. Like they all went well. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, like they seem to be quite receptive. I think as well because it was a pandemic, like people were kind of happy for social interaction. But I feel as though like I just started a very interesting time, because I was watching a lot of videos online, and the amount of comments that I was seeing from guys who were like, oh, you know, when all of this is over, I'm going to get back out there. I'm going to start socializing. I'm going to start meeting women. I'm going to, you know, all this stuff. I would love to see how many of those guys who said, I'm gonna, you know, when all of this is over, like how many of those people actually followed through. But my mindset was always like, well, if not now, when? And I've always been good at the reframe. I said to myself in 2020, listen, Kristian, if we can do this now, right? If we can start now in this weird era of social distancing and face mask and uncertain times, like if we can start now, and the only mindset I actually had when I was starting was, I want to overcome this resistance, because I really like that feeling. I don't like feeling like a fucking pussy, right? I want to overcome that feeling, but also like, I was really going out there with just the mindset of making people feel good. You know what I mean? I think this was why I was able, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, but I was going on dates within 3 weeks of me starting. I think the decade of being a magician definitely helped with that. I think because it was the pandemic and the women that I was speaking with, they were crying out, they were craving that social connection, like masculine to feminine, like, oh my God, this guy just come over to me, kind of like a zero fucks given mentality. I think that definitely worked in and like just understand like it's all started just from this. I was just a 23-year-old moneyless moron who just had delusional optimism in himself, right? That really is, I think, been my biggest superpower across these 4 years. I just had delusional optimism. I just believed in myself like my life depended on it. I just had irrational faith in my own capabilities. And I think that's always been my biggest superpower. I was like, right, it's 2020. Like, I met myself, the version of me who's speaking with you today. I knew that I wanted to be the best in the world at this skill set. I knew I wanted to completely revolutionize my dating life. And also, I think really what demonstrated to me, I knew when I'd arrived in this realm when I could then teach this skill to other people. Yeah, once I started coaching it, because I started off coaching for free. People in the UK would watch my videos, all like 80 subscribers that I had back then. They would send me an email to my old email address. They would pay for my train ticket. I was zipping up and down the country doing free coaching sessions, just delighting these people beyond belief because I wanted to get my reps in, I wanted to get my coaching reps in, and also I just wanted to help people as well. That was my burning passion, that was my burning desire. I knew what it felt like to feel as though you're alone, that the world didn't love you. I knew that a lot of men were frustrated because they currently lack love from the feminine. I always saw myself as separate to the whole day game or pickup industry. I just wanted to be a cool guy who was good with women. That's all I wanted. And I wanted to unlock this skill set because it would be a way of me to separate myself from other guys. And also, I don't know, it was just this calling that I had inside of me. You know, my mantra is freedom from bullshit. And I do think that any self-respecting man should be able to go over to a woman who he finds attractive without needing to be buzzed off his absolute tits on five shots of sambuca. So I've always seen it as a gentleman's way of meeting women. And yeah, 4 years ago today, that's when it all started. Never done a direct call approach in my life. I sucked hard at the start, but I think another like key thing which I had, which I definitely see is lacking from a lot of the guys who try and learn this, especially guys who try and learn it on their own, is they don't have a sense of humor. Like, they don't have a sense of humor. They take the whole thing way too seriously. It's like very militant, right? It's like, oh, go out, do my 10 approaches, track my numbers. And it's like, for me, it just kind of dehumanizes the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, why have you got a fucking spreadsheet? It's just like, I just find that whole thing a bit strange. Because I've met guys who've been doing this way longer than me, way longer, and they're still pretty much in the same position that they started. But now it's like they've got bitter, like they've got bitter towards women. They don't believe in the discipline of day game anymore. Like, everything just feels very, very negative. But I think one of my biggest superpowers was I always just had this laughing my way through life mentality. I was like, the world doesn't owe me anything. Women don't owe me anything. We're all just animals responding to incentives. The world's motivated by self-interest. We all just want the best deal for ourselves. And I knew that from my time of being a magician, just to delight in the people that I was speaking with, like really just to have as much fun as possible, because we don't know when our final day on this earth is going to be, right? Eternity's a long time, we're too long dead. So that's what I've always attempted to inject into the conversations that I have, the content that I create, the coaching sessions that I do. It's just to sort of lighten the mood, right? Like, lightening the mood. And I find that's what actually yields amazing results, right? Girls just want to have fun. The girl is very much your mirror. A day without laughter is a day wasted. Charlie Chaplin. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is in the comments section of this video, I'm gonna link my very first infield video that I made, so you can actually meet me in the past. I think that's one of the most unique aspects of this channel is I've been documenting my journey from the start. So you can go back, watch that first infield video of me wearing that fucking anorak and the weird chain, the silly haircut, the colourful shoes. I think in one of the conversations, I tell the girl that I'm Swedish, because I was reading like this thing. It was like, oh, you should DHV more, like demonstration of high value. I was like, wait, what value do I currently have? Nothing. Oh wait, my name starts with a K. I can pretend I'm Swedish. Maybe that'll make the girls like me. It didn't actually make any fucking difference for the record. But yeah, that first infill video I'll post below. And that was like 3 months after I got started. I made that first infill video in Leeds. So it was like me and this guy I met on this random old school like day game wings forum. We met up in Leeds. He offered to film for me in exchange for a cup of tea. That was nice. And then yeah, we just walked around Leeds together, capturing the. It was just rogue. It was complete rogue. Like I didn't have any money. He was balancing the camera on a bin, and but you know, we got the video, right? We got the video. But just like just watching myself on that very first video that I made, like even when I'm talking to the camera, like you can just tell how nervous and unsure of myself and like just insecure that I was feeling. Like I hid behind humor a lot of the time, and you can see anyway if you just go back to the earliest videos, just even the videos where I'm like talking to camera on that floor, it's just like everything like just feels like very like scrunchy and hunchy, just like it's just like, hey guys. It's cringe, right? It's really cringe, but I think you have to suck until you succeed. And I don't know, I wanted to put this video out to commemorate, we'll call it Casanova Day, to commemorate Casanova Day, but also just to demonstrate, I think, my humanness to you as well. Do you know what I mean? Like 4 years ago on this day, I was in a position that a lot of you gentlemen are in right now, where you've not done a direct cold approach yet. You're thinking about doing it. You're probably worried about getting labeled as a pickup artist. You've got a lot of self-limiting beliefs. You've got a lot of self-doubt. You're projecting your perceived lack of self-worth onto all of your approaches. But I think the best advice that I can give to you, it's one of my mantras, is belief follows action. Okay? Belief follows action, and confidence is optimism in the absence of certainty. So if you can set that intention to get 100 direct call approaches done ASAP, like as soon as you've done that first one, you're going to feel a massive sense of relief. If you can do one, you can do 10. If you can do 10, you can do 100, right? For me, it takes 100 just to start to develop proficiency, right? It might take longer because I don't know you. Like I can't give you an individually tailored prescription. If you're going to do these approaches with me, then yeah, it's going to take like a fraction of the time, right? Like when you work with me, I condense like 14 years of social experience into a single weekend. That's why my guys get results fast. But yeah, if you're doing it on your own, maybe it'll take you, I don't know, 200. I don't know. Again, I don't know you, so I can't give you an individually tailored remedy. But just as like a ballpark estimate, 100 direct approaches, you'll start to find your flow. You'll learn how to open. You'll learn how to converse. You'll learn how to close. You'll learn about yourself. Like you'll start to discover your own approach to cold approach. If that makes sense. Like you don't want to be rinsing and repeating the same thing that you hear like me say. Like it's probably not going to work for you. Like I like to say things like, oh, what are we going to do on our second date, on our third? Like that, like the things that I say probably won't work for you. That's why you need skin in the game. That's why you don't want to consume a lot of infield content. Otherwise you sound like a miniature sized version of me or whoever else you're watching. So yeah, just make sure like you already know what you need to do anyway. Do you know what I mean? You don't actually need any more videos. You don't need more content. It's just go out, make women feel beautiful, give them a reason to smile. Nobody's allergic to a compliment. Just rep that out 100 times, right? You can structure it however you want. You might do like, I don't know, like 3 a day, 5 a day. You might section out like time during your weekends, do like, I don't know, 20 a weekend, like whatever, I don't know, like however you want to play it. But yeah, I think just keep in your mind, like when I'm speaking to you, I'm not trying to speak to you as a guru. Like I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just speaking to you as someone who gets it. Like 4 years ago, I was in the same position as you. But I think what separates me from most guys, especially guys in this space, I took action regardless of the way that I felt. I had optimism in the absence of certainty, and I think I was able to just have fun with this process. You know what I mean? I was just able to put faith into the process. I was like, right, like if I've seen other people do something, then it's like there's no reason why I can't do it either. And my mindset was always bulletproof. You know, I think there's just like a lot of negativity and excuse making, action avoiding these days. Like, I just don't have time for it, because if I was able to get started from where I started, like porn addict, erectile dysfunction, look like a turnip, dressed like a moron, £24.82 a universal credit in my bank account, living in that grotty apartment, no idea what I was doing. Like, if I was able to start like during the pandemic as well, then there really is nothing stopping you apart from the bullshit that you're currently feeding on. Like, there isn't anything stopping you. There's nothing stopping you leaving your house today and telling one woman that she looks amazing. Like, there's nothing stopping you do that. And again, if you can do one, you can do 10. You do 10, you can do 100. Once you've done 100, you start to feel like a new man. You realize that your limitations were actually hallucinations, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. It's like Alfred Hitchcock said, there's no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it. I think far too many of us today are living in anticipation rather than living in action. You know, that's what I'm about. It's just action, 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 reps, 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 being action focused rather than outcome dependent. That's really the only remedy that you need. Just do the thing. Just do the thing. Belief does follow action. And I think just I'm living proof of what happens when you actually take relentless action. Like, I've been at this for 4 years now. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars into coaching, into mentorship, into masterminds. I've been plastering my face on the internet. I've been getting feedback from the world. I've, traveled the entire world, coaching this skill set, changing people's lives. Like, it's actually mad what can be achieved. Like, what's 4 years? Do you know what I mean? Like, people spend like decades just trying to get to a place where they're happy. Like, I was sat around a coffee table in Malaga when I was in Malaga, and there was these two guys, and they were talking about, like, it's taken them like 6 decades to finally retire, and now they get to enjoy Malaga. I'm like, I'm 27 years old. At 23, I had nothing. Now I can enjoy a fucking cappuccino, not having to stress about, going to a job, asking for permission to go for a shit. I don't have to commute to that dead end job anymore that I used to work at. And it's like, you know what? All of this happened because I decided. All of this has happened because of that very first direct cold approach. It just opened the floodgates to my life. So, whenever anyone's like, oh, it's easy for you to say, no, it's not easy for me to say. It was never easy. And that's the exact reason why I wanted to do it. Right? That was always a reason. I was like, this is not easy. This is going to demand a lot. This is going to really force me to become a version of myself that I'm not too sure if I can become, but optimism in the absence of certainty. So yeah, if people are like, oh, it's easy for you. Oh, I would love your life. It's like, you might want the life, but you're not prepared to actually work for it. So yeah, I'll link the video below. You can see my very first infield video. You can enjoy the absolute cringe fest in that. But no, it's just a special day for me because it really was the day when my entire life changed, and I'm really grateful for everything that I've done. I'm super grateful for that former version of me who just had the balls to get started. Like, sometimes I would just like to have a conversation with that version of me and be like, Kristian, I know you're scared right now. I know you're doubting yourself. I know that you're in this kaleidoscope of uncertainty, but do the thing, bro. Like, do the thing. I've got you. I'm here for you every step of the way. And just mad respect because, most people are never going to cold approach, let alone make an entire career out of it, make the cold approach content, travel the world, change people's lives for a living. Like, it all started with that first direct cold approach in the Marion Center with the Persian girl. I wonder what she's doing now. But yeah, watch the video. I'll link it below. I appreciate all of yous. I'll